housing authorities need a specialized system because of the different programs and also because of the compliance that is really necessary for the programs to report back to HUD. So housing authorities actually can be part of government entities, so like a city or a county, but many are quasi-governmental. So they are not directly related to the actual city or the county. So they can actually function as their own organization and actually have a governing body within their own as like a board or council, whereas if they are part of a city, then it's part of their city council or their city governing body. Their core purpose is to serve families in need of housing, and many of them are low income, elderly, people who are not quite in a different tax bracket. So there's many different programs that a housing authority can operate under. And many of their properties can either have one or sometimes multiple programs under one roof, if you will. It requires a specialized type of technology because they have tons of compliance reporting. So they have to report to HUD, and also many of them, depending on how they are structured, have to report to their local cities or counties and also the state in some form or fashion. So they are required to go through very rigorous processes for screening, making sure that they're compliant from an income standpoint, their needs, whether they're elderly, low income, a student, can also be qualified for housing through a housing authority. So it really depends on the program, but there's so many different programs and there's so many different pieces of compliance that have to be reported back to HUD that does require something more than just a regular property management software. Yes, so they do have to go through a rigorous application process, and the resident actually has to go through that with the housing staff member, or you also have kind of an advocate for the residents, or a prospect, if you will, that has to go through and report on their income, their need, how are they needs based, and really assess them through interviews, inspections, different things like that, having to submit a lot of personal identification. So you have a lot of this information flowing in, and it is not just inward facing from an operations standpoint. You actually have end users that many times you'll have a portal where they can go and access this information or input their personal information into a portal so that you're not exchanging it back and forth. Otherwise, it's manually done through paper and copies. It should be at the forefront of any ERP implementation, but specifically for housing authorities, the level of input of personal information and the type of personal information that they have to house within their systems, it's crucial. And security has to be at a very high, at a very, very high priority for their implementations in general, but also for the data conversion pieces as well. It's not just, the security overall, like thinking actual implementation and how that process is happening, and, the information that's converted from one system to the other. You can get way down in the weeds about it, but it's really critical. Like I said before, it's every ERP, but really in particular for housing authorities. So the first one is, why now? Why are you wanting to change systems now? And where are you? Where are you at in that process? Because many times, you will actually be starting the process, or you've already started the process. And sometimes you bring in people to help later. But so understanding the why now and where you're at in that process, and then what are your goal? Where do you want to be uh, at the end? So what are your desired outcomes? And I think those are the critical pieces to really understanding if you need help, which most of the time people do, especially in these types of conversions and implementations. But getting a full picture. So the most important one is probably why now. Housing authorities need a specialized system because of the different programs and also because of the compliance that is really necessary for the programs to report back to HUD. And so many government systems or ERP systems that are slated for the public sector don't factor in those compliance pieces. And really it is more property management than any sort of financial or HR related systems. You do have that. You do have those areas in the systems that are offered for housing authorities. However, you really need the very niche modules that are related to those affordable or residential programs that are provided by HUD. The top requirements that I would look for in a system as a housing authority would certainly be, can this system meet my compliance needs? Looking at your programs, really digging into the details of what that looks like. Are the reports and the data points that I need, are those going to be able to be pulled from this system? Really, what programs do you have? So outlining not just the compliance piece, but do I have the means of managing the programs that I'm running for my properties and for my vouchers in this system? How complicated is my wait list? What are my wait list needs? What has to be customized? Their housing authorities can have a single wait list for their voucher programs, or they can have 30s, 40s, 50s. It really depends. And so really understanding those needs for each of your programs, and then also the data that's related to those functional requirements are going to be critical in the selection process. So a few of the housing authority systems that we see in the public sector are Yardi, Emphasis Elite, MRI, Odoo, and there are a few others, but really you have to think about the needs of your organization, and you also have to find people who understand those specific systems to help you meet your needs. So you can't just go and pick one specific system just because the bells and whistles look great from their sales team, or they put a lovely discount in front of you. You really have to define what those functional requirements look like and how you can achieve your desired outcome in the end. If you'd like to learn more about these systems, you can check out our top ERP systems for the public sector list. You can download this list in the video description below.